Go ahead and we'll be happy to start the program.
Thank you, Mayor Mutz. Good morning, everyone. Trinice McGriff, City of Lakeland School to Work Specialist and Lakeland Electric Academy's liaison. I am honored and excited to present our Power and Energy Academy program completers for the 2022-2023 school year. Lakeland Electric has been a proud partner of the Polk County School Board in the creation and facilitation of our Power and Energy Academies at Tenor Rock High School and Travis Technical College. The goal of these academies is to create a pipeline of qualified applicants for the utility industry. Since the inception of this partnership in 2008, we have produced over 200 program completers with foundational credentials for entrance into the power, electrical, and utility industries. Recognition of our program completers is significant. Not only does it indicate that these students are ready for the next phase of training and development in the industry, but it also qualifies them to apply for Lakeland Electric's utility worker positions. These part-time temporary positions have been utilized throughout the utility to give our academy students additional training and on-the-job experience, and in some cases have been a pathway to full-time regular careers within Lakeland Electric and the city, such as line crews, engineering, public works, and finance. Currently, there are 23 Power Academy alumni working for the City of Lakeland, and we look forward to adding to this count in the upcoming weeks. Today, we will celebrate our program completers for each academy. I will review the mission statement and program completer requirements for each academy, and we will hear a brief speech from a student. Following the speech, each student will be recognized. The Lakeland Electric Power Academy. First, we will recognize our Lakeland Electric Power Academy completers from Tenor Rock High School. Thank you to Principal Jason Looney and Assistant Principal Travian Smith for their commitment and support for the program. A special thank you also goes to Misty Osborne, our program instructor, who has been instrumental in the success of the Power Academy program. Just last week, our Power Academy was recognized by Lakeland Leads and Polk County Public Schools as the recipient of the Workforce Legacy Award. The Academy was also nominated for Academy of the Year, and our fearless leader, Mike Beckham, was nominated for Business Partner of the Year. Congratulations to you all on a job well done. The Power Academy is a 4-year National Career Academies Coalition recognized certified academy program that has been a staple of excellence for Polk County schools since 2008. These students complete NCCER curriculum of core fundamentals, electricity levels 1 and 2, and alternative energy. In addition, they complete an energy industry fundamentals course, employability skills, mock interviews, and participate in a 15-week job shadowing experience where they get to utilize their schools in an on-the-job environment in various departments right here at the city. Students are required to be in good standing for graduation, maintain an acceptable GPA, and maintain syllabus progress in the Power Academy as well as their academic schedules. With this schedule, students can earn 4 industry certifications from NCCER, CPR and first aid certifications, and in most cases also earn their OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 certifications prior to completion of the program. At this time, we will recognize our Power Academy program completers. Each student will receive a certificate of completion along with an honors cord to wear at graduation. In addition to their cord, these students receive an honorary stole due to successful completion of their job shadowing component. I would like to call Mike Beckham, Mayor Mutz, and Emily Cologne to assist in honoring our students. Mike Beckham will present the certificates, Emily will present the honorary stole, and Mayor Mutz will present the honors cord. At this time, I'm going to turn the mic over to Misty Osborne, Academy instructor, to call her students up to be honored. And students, once you receive your certificates, please pause for a photo.
Can you guys hear me now? Okay. First, I'd like to call Daniel Camacho. He's been with the Academy for 4 years. When asked what you remember most about your Academy experience, he commented on job shadowing. His plans for after graduation is to attend college, specifically in engineering. His words of wisdom: always assert yourself.
Always.
Students, get your cord, your stole first.
You said our head.
And if you can stay up, David.
We have a couple that are also completers, but they were unable to attend today. We'd just like to recognize them as well. Justin Campbell and Aiden Deloach. Caleb Hudson. He's been with the Academy for 4 years. What he remembers most about the Academy experience is his teachers and mentors. His plans after graduation is go straight to work, hopefully for the city. His words of wisdom: the outcome of completing the class is worth the struggles of taking it. Cameron Kern. 4 years with the Academy. What you'll remember most about your Academy experience: the class itself and the teacher. Plans after graduation: work as a mechanic and get his ASE. Words of wisdom: keep pushing even when it gets hard. It'll turn out good one day. Daniel Medrano. Daniel's been with the Academy for 4 years. His plans for after graduation is to go straight to work in the workforce. We have a couple more that were unable to attend: Raquan Morrison and Jesus Mosqueda Salas. Gary Patisol. Gary's been with the Academy for 4 years. What he will remember most about the Academy experience is all the friends and projects we got to do. Plans after graduation: straight to work in T&D field. Words of wisdom: listen and have fun.
Keep straight, Emily.
Jerry Pollard was unable to attend today too, but I'd like to recognize him as well. Travis Robinson. Travis has been with the Academy for 4 years. His plans after graduation: straight to workforce. Jonathan Vasquez. Jonathan's been with the Academy for 4 years. What he will remember most about the Academy experience is honestly mostly the people he's met and the amount of support he's received from his teachers, along with the experiences. His plans after graduation is to attend a trade school for welding and HVAC, and his words of wisdom is try your hardest and do what you need from the start.
At this time, we're going to pause for a group photo. Oh, one more.
One more student that I wanted to recognize was unable to attend was Landon Voiles.
Everyone, pull forward, come forward. I'll let Robert direct that. Misty, if you could step into the photo, please.
There you go.
Yes. Principal Looney.
Yeah, come on, Looney.
We're probably gonna have to squish together like you know each other.
Right. Next, we will recognize our Lakeland Electric Energy Academy program completers from Travis Technical College, who are joining us for the second time since their inception in 2013. Thank you to Director David Wiggs and Assistant Directors Angela Perpolis and Jason Hendricks for their commitment and support for the program. A special thank you goes to Christopher Halleck, our program instructor, who has been instrumental in the success of the Energy Academy program. In addition to our Energy Academy, Lakeland Electric is also the industry sponsor for Travis's Adult Electricity program. The Energy Academy at Travis Technical College is a dual enrollment high school program that takes students through NCCER core fundamentals and electricity levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yes, you all can have a seat for a moment. Thank you. They also participate in employability skills training and mock interviews with the City of Lakeland. This course load can be completed in 2 to 4 school years and meets the 1,200 clock hours of the post-secondary frameworks. Students are required to be in good academic standing for graduation, maintain an acceptable GPA, and maintain syllabus progress and a GPA of 70% of higher in the Energy Academy alongside their academic schedules. With this model schedule, students could have the opportunity to earn 5 industry certifications from NCCER while earning FLDOE certifications for electrical helper, residential electrician, and commercial electrician upon completion of the program. We will now hear from Eduardo DeNova, 2023 Energy Academy program completer.
Hello, everybody. I would like to say thank you for everybody that's here with us to join us. It all started back when I joined this program in August 2022. I walked into the class without having no experience, no idea what it was I was walking to. As soon as I sat down, I asked myself, what have I gotten myself into? It was when I met along the way a couple of my classmates from my previous school. Those were the only people I could count on because I have met nobody. I didn't know who my instructor was at that time. But over the course, I got to meet new faces, new people. I got along with my instructor, who I'm thankful for. And if we could give him a round of applause, because thanks to him, I'm here where I'm at right now. As the course went on, I started learning what electricity was, the fundamentals, what type of tools we would need, and I didn't know that I could work with some of these people one day. Here I am with them, and one day I could be their next coworker, or we could work for the same company. Thanks to my instructor, I am able to have a big leap into my career, as I am currently right now working for an electrical company, but I wish to see more opportunities where I can expand myself, knowing where I'm valuable to people like you guys or to someone that could be here in my next manager one day. Some of the memories I made, I cherish with my classmates. One of my favorite memories was where I got to go to Busch Gardens. It wasn't as I expected it to go, because it was a lot better, because I got to meet these guys, how they are, how they treat each other, how we are with each other. And it was an honor to be with them, standing here right now, and graduating with them. It was very nice. It was an awesome experience where we got to go to Busch Gardens. But to the program, it was something I'm thankful for, and being here with you guys right now. I would like to thank the City of Lakeland, Lakeland Electric, Travis Technical College, and the Energy Academy program. And once again, I'd like to thank my instructor. If you guys could give him a round of applause. Without him, I'm not the person I am today. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you, Eduardo.
At this time, we will recognize our Energy Academy program completers. Each student will receive a certificate of completion along with an honors cord to wear at graduation. I would like to call Mike Beckham, again, Mayor Mutz, and Emily Cologne to assist in honoring our students. Thank you guys for the up and down here. Mike Beckham will present the certificates, and Mayor Mutz will present the honors cord. I'll turn the mic over to Chris Hallett, program instructor, to call his students up to be honored.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Eduardo, for those kind words. And as an instructor, that brings great joy, because when you realize that your students are actually gaining more out of the program than what you think that they're going to take out of it, and it's the fun at the end of the year, really makes a change. I am very proud of each of these students with the program as a dual enrolled adult. So they are entering in, not only finishing their requirements for high school graduation to get across that stage and flip that tassel, but they are also meeting the demand requirements of that adult dual enrollment education, and they are getting ready to enter the field. And I'm very proud of each and every one of them. So good job, guys. With that, I'd like to introduce up our list. First, I'd like to call up Mr. Anthony Aguila. Anthony has been with me for 2 years in the Energy Academy. His most favorite, what does he remember most about his experience was the amount of hands-on activities in the shop. His plans upon graduation are to get straight to work. He is currently applying. And his words of wisdom is always try to finish your work on time. Next, I'd like to call up Jose Castillo Longino. Jose came into my program just this year. He's only been with me for a year, and great advancements. His most recalled memory is the memories we had in the class in the shop. He is looking to find an electricity position, and his words of wisdom is always keep on working. Next, I would like to call up Devlin Thor Crisp. Thor has been in my program for 2 years. He is a deferred senior who has allowed him to be in my program the entire day, all day, every day, meeting his academic requirements and postponing graduation to be able to get a full completion of the program. What will you remember most about your academy experience? And that was working on the training walls. Plans after graduation is interested in employment with Breakpoint Electric. And his words of wisdom is always use your PPE. Next, I'd like to call up Dallas Dean, who has also only been with me for 1 year, entering in as a senior. What his memories of the Energy Academy is the laws and rules of electricity. That is a very eye-opening experience for a lot of students when they realize there's more math and more theory than just plugging something into an outlet on the wall. Upon graduation, Dallas looks to return to Travis to complete his program with levels 3 and 4 with the adult program after graduation, or straight to work, pending his summer events. Depends on what the summer goes. His words of wisdom is always use your protection. Next, I'd like to call up our guest speaker, Eduardo DeNova. As you know, Eduardo has been in the program for only 1 year. His most memorable moments of the academy experience was the performance task, getting that hands-on in the shop. Plans upon graduation is to continue working with G&G Electric over the summer and then return next year as an adult student to complete the program. His words of wisdom, try your best. Next, I'd like to call Bobby Griffith to the stage. Bobby's been with us for 2 years in the Energy Academy. His most memorable moments of his time is, quote, "It's always in the book." That is something that we talk about in class, is to always, when the question is asked, where's the answer? How do you do this? Have you looked in the book? And then miraculously, the answer is right there in the textbook. Plans after graduation is to go straight to work. Bobby's already accepted a position with APG Electric and will be entering into the field in just a few short weeks. So congratulations. And his words of wisdom is always strive to do your best whenever in life. Next coming up, making sure, oh, he did make it in. I was running late this morning. Next, I'd like to call up Kyler Lovering. Kyler's been with me for 2 years in the Energy Academy. His most memorable moments are great learning experience and great classmates. If you want to learn, you definitely will. Plans after graduation is straight to work, HVAC electrical work with a local company. And just to do your work and do not wait until the last minute. Time crunches get a little difficult. Many of my seniors are realizing that as they have 2 short weeks until they can possibly get released into freedom from school. And they want everything done now. Next, I'd like to call another program completer who is actually in his 11th grade year, and he started in his 10th grade year, finished the program in 2, and will be returning to Travis in his senior year, looking to take up a position in the future education in the HVAC program. Adolfo Maldonado, who has been with me for 2 years. His most memorable moment in the Energy Academy is climbing the power poles. Plans after graduation is to return to Travis for his senior year, picking up welding, and after graduation, plan is to go into Florida, into South Florida lineman school. I apologize, Adolfo, that was not HVAC, that was welding. It is a tough process, but don't get up. Don't give up are his words of wisdom. Next, I'd like to call Seth Peters to the stage. Seth has been with me for 1 year. He had a really hard time figuring out what he as a memorable moment because they were all just so much fun. Plans after graduation is to get out there and get to work. And his words of wisdom, safety first. Next, I'd like to call Raul Pineda. Raul has been with us for 1 year, starting his senior year in the Energy Academy. His most memorable moments are the conduit bending exercises in the shop. Plans after graduation is to return to Travis and complete the program through the adult program, continuing with levels 3 and 4. Raul's words of wisdoms is your education is very important. Next up to the stage, I'd like to call Daniel Sanchez. Daniel also has entered into the program this year, has 1 year in the Energy Academy. His most memorable academy experience was the trip to RESA Power in Plant City, where we got to tour their facility where they build switchgear, remanufacture large industrial breakers. It was a very good field trip. His plans after graduation is to return back into school and complete. And his words of wisdom, never give up. And last up to our stage here to round out the class is Jesse Seiler. Jesse has been with me for 2 years. Jesse is leaving us as a full program completer, reaching all levels. His favorite moments in the Energy Academy are blowing breakers in class and trying to wire projects. Plans after graduation is to get straight to work at Lighthouse Electric. And his words of wisdom that he leaves behind are no matter how hard something is, work through it and keep going. I'm very proud of each and every one of you. It is a great honor to see you standing up here as seniors, moving into that next stage of life. Remember what you've learned and stay safe. Thank you.
All right, We're going to pause for another photo. You guys can come up, and Mr. Wiggs is going to join us as well.
I know.
Yeah. Sit down on one step.
Yeah.
We have quite a few program supporters in the audience. First, I'd like to recognize anyone from the district, if you could please stand. All right, we have Kylia Carswell from Community Engagement, Representative Allen, and we also have Ms. Nikki Morris from our Workforce Department with the district. So thank you guys so much for coming. We are glad to have you here. We also have family, friends, mentors, and alumni. If you could please stand at this time to be recognized. Family, friends.
Family, friends. It's the rest of you. Hey, without you guys, this doesn't happen, so thank you.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time and commitment. We could not do this without your support, so we appreciate you coming. I'd also like to introduce to some Mr. Jimmy Horner. Is Jimmy still here? Mr. Jimmy Horner, who has signed on to be working very closely with our academies from here on out. We are excited to have him to come in, and he's going to be our Lakeland Electric representative. We'll be getting out and working exclusively with our academy. So thank you so much, Jimmy. Congratulations to all of our program completers. May your futures shine bright, and may you spark excellence in all that you do. All right.
Thank you, and thank you so much for your leadership in this process as well. We really appreciate it, Trinice.
Thank you.
Now, you guys have a choice. We're going to have a utility committee meeting, and we're going to continue on in it, and we're going to talk about hurricane prep, which might be interesting to you in that topic. And so Corey Bush is going to kick that off for us. So Corey?
I'll leave at once.
Sure. We are doing cake. We're doing cake, a celebration over at Lakeland Electric. Please, if you go down to the first floor and walk across the street, enter into Lakeland Electric, there is cake and a celebration for you there. Thank you so much.
Excellent, thank you. They will guide you there. Just get down to the first floor lobby. That'd be great.
Not too bad.
We need that program in every field that we have.
I know.
I mean, every field,
No,
electrical, AC, roofing, plumbing, I mean,
He said
we
he
do.
was working in electric, and I'm like, let's go get the name tags for you all, the regular one.
And every single
Sorry
one
about
of
that.
them has
He was
the,
saying like anything, Okay,
well, they just
perfect.
have, they understand
Okay.
ethic, which escapes so many of our young seniors, you know, these
Yes.
kids, they grabbed a hold of it. More of us are gifted that way than the other way, so.
Yes, it's like we've neglected to tap into that young.
Nobody took you up on your offer.
Yeah. Corey, I really wanted to sell your program hard today,
I
but
tried.
I was not an effective marketer. And I do appreciate,
Cake or this, you know?
I don't blame them. I like cake too.
I do appreciate last night you using the winds to kind of cue you up for this today. so
Right,
that's
yeah,
great.
we couldn't have timed that any better.
No, sir.
Well, I had just finished watching the hockey game and turned the TV off and heard the rumbles and had to come back in and turn the TV on. I was like, holy cow. Yeah, we rode through well. Good little warm up, so.
All right, sir. We
All righty, I'm all yours. So Corey Bush, I'm the, yes, sir.
not sure if
Okay.
these mics work. I guess they do, but they didn't sound like they were.
I
bringing them in, so-
apologize, sir, go ahead.
No, it's fine. They probably do, but I just don't want to scream too loud and I'm scared everybody. So, I just want to kick it off. I always like to recognize promotions or new employees. So we had a promotion this week. Scott Bishop is now our permanent AGM Energy Delivery. So he was there. He is. Yep.
Congratulations, sir.
I do want to highlight what was said about our proud relationship with our Energy Academy. It is a very proud relationship. We're very proud to be associated with those folks. Always some very fine folks. One of the first things I got to do as interim GM last year was to do this ceremony, and it's always great to see these folks get their diplomas, get their opportunity to get out in the world and go to work. They're fine folks, and we're better off for them in our community. So thanks to, I know they've left, but thanks to Trinice and the folks at those schools and everything that they do. So with that, we do have storm kickoff today. Not a storm coming just yet, but Corey's going to talk about storm prep, and then we'll have a couple other things to talk about before we finish. So we'll turn it over to Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Corey Bush, Assistant General Manager, Customer Service. Welcome back. Glad to be in front of you guys, and a topic that's near and dear to all our hearts. We experienced a run-in with Hurricane Ian last year, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, kind of how we recovered, our process. I'm going to talk a little bit about the forecast. I got some video we're going to run through, and how we've prepared so far, a couple tweaks we've made to the plan. We heard some of the concerns. We've responded to those, and how it's going to look going forward. We got I feel it's some really good messaging we're going to put out from the utility to our customers. So with that, I will begin. Little recap, 2022 hurricane season. So that is all 14 named storms you see in front of you. 8 of those became both minor and major hurricanes, with, of course, the one that affected us all for a 6 to 7 day period was Hurricane Ian. So just a little insight there. Average hurricane season's 14 named storms, with 7 hurricanes becoming, or 7 becoming hurricanes with 3 majors. So we were a little bit above average last year. Recapping that time span there, we ended up with about 67,000 customers out of power. One of the things I'm proud of is we were able to restore power to roughly 40,000 within 24 hours, which is a huge accomplishment. But behind that is the 27,000 that were left, and that's a lot of grinding work and grueling work. To accomplish that, by end of day 3, we had around 500 electric field personnel, 200 of those being Lakeland Electric workers, and then the mutual aid network that we talk about so often with FMEA and coordination with our other municipals within the state and the region kicked in, and those resources were on the ground. And those are just a few that are listed. I was hesitant in even listing those because it's a great network that's extremely valuable to us, of like-minded folks from other municipals that come in, and we rescue each other in our time of needs. So, and we also reciprocate that service, as you guys are well aware of. Another thing I want to point out is the coordination that takes place during those times. Parks and Rec, our fleet department, Lakeland Police Department, warehouse, risk, management, IT, none of this happens without all of that behind the scenes. Some of you are well aware of, Parks and Rec. They're out there cutting the tree limbs and clearing the streets, and Public Works with the heavy equipment doing some of that. But the coordination that comes from the utility that you guys may not be aware of, they do a fantastic job of working with us. The LPD was instrumental this year. We initiated for the first time. We deployed officers with the crews and sent them out their daily work. And not that we anticipate issues, but there are none because they are there. And it helps with traffic, it helps with navigation, it helps with, people inquiring. Some are nicer than others, It's really a huge help. We've worked that into our plan, and that's going to continue on this year. So I'm happy to say that. In total, we restored in 6 days, and it was by far our most successful response to date. Now, that's because we've improved our mutual aid network, and we've improved our in-house plans. We've storm hardened continually over the year. I think we're starting to see the fruits of those labors, plus the advancements in technology and all of those things. But you remove all that, it still takes the people and the coordination. So from the utility side, we've seen that improvement. Let's talk about next upcoming season. Click it one more time. I've got a brief video to watch, for you guys to watch. This news reporter explains it better than I ever could. So let's take a listen.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Brightside. I'm Ted Bay. We are your hurricane headquarters, and this morning we're getting a look at our first forecast for the 2023 hurricane season, which is rapidly approaching.
Meteorologist Bobby Deskin joins us now. And Bobby, there's good news and, of course, bad news.
Yep. Season starts June 1st. The first forecast for the season has come out from Colorado State University. 14 named storms is what we see on average now. 13 is what they're expecting. So the good news is a slightly lower than average storm in the season. In fact, Hurricane 6, those becoming Cat 3 or higher, only 2, which would be really good news. However, it's just a forecast. Now, the reasoning behind that is that we expect El Nino to develop. And when you get El Nino, you get more wind shear. You see all this here? That is a lot of wind shear. And it's really hard for storms to form in that. So during the summertime, we tend to have less wind shear here. But when we have El Nino years, we get more wind shear. There's El Nino developing that warmer water there. But look what's already happening. We've got warmer than average water almost the entire Atlantic basin, including the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. That is fuel for the fire. And so ordinarily with El Nino coming on like this, we would have even less amount of storms. But because that water is so warm, they can't lower those numbers all that much because it doesn't take much to get a storm going. Now, look. It only takes one. These forecasts, we show them to you, but it's just a forecast. 1992, we only had 7 named storms the whole time. The average at that time was 12. The first one didn't occur until August. It's Hurricane Andrew. You have to be prepared either way.
Amen.
My favorite line in the whole piece, it's only a forecast. So they always leave their out there. And of course, it is still early. You'll get another updated report from the National Weather Service and as it approaches, and they always tweak that number. But that's what I could come up with for this time frame. Again, it only takes one, absolutely. So how are we preparing? So we've done a few things. A lot of work went into several years ago tweaking our emergency operations plan. And we now have calendar dates where those updates are sent to our management teams. They are updating their personnel, their first reports. We've had a lot of jobs exchanged and duties exchanged because of new folks in the queue and new responsibilities given. We're making sure that everybody's up to speed where they need to be and everything is accounted for. Core team meetings, we've got those scheduled for the week after next. That's the coordinating efforts from our utility. And then outside, we also involve fleet, we involve risk, we involve the warehouse, where the utility and those overlapping parts, we all come together in one room. New this year, there's a tabletop exercise. We're sending approximately, I think it's 10 to 12 from the utility are going to an FMEA event in Orlando the week of May 17th and 18th. There is going to be a tabletop exercise sponsored by the Department of Energy. FEMA will be there, Florida Department of Emergency Management, Public Service Commission, for a one-day tabletop, which goes into the coordination efforts that we all depend on. So that's going to be a new one. I'm excited. We're participating in that. I think there's going to be some value add for us there too. As far as inventory, I know it's going to come up. We're going to talk about it. So we've got a 3-year rolling average of our storm inventory that we do on a regular basis. Scott and his team decided to add a named storm, which in this case is Hurricane Ian. And how do we fare with our transformer stock, pole stock, with that named storm added into that average? And we're happy to say we don't see any supply chain issues with anything we've got. There is still quite a lead time on transformers, but we've planned ahead. Things are improving on the supply chain front. I'm sure most of you guys realize that in your normal business lives, but it is getting better. Still a challenge, but we're planning accordingly. We've improved our process for our outage notifications, and I want to hit on that a little bit because during the storm, we utilized Storm Center and a lot of the technologies that we had facing our customers, or customer-facing technologies, and there was some messagings with ETRs. We're well ahead of that. The text messages, we're well ahead of that. All of those improvements, we've got a lot of flexibility to be proactive in our messaging, which I'm sure Catherine and her team will be utilizing going forward. And I'm going to hit on something really cool here in a minute with them. But all of those have been addressed. And I also want to mention the city and their hiring of our new emergency manager, Mr. Garcia. I believe you guys were introduced to him in the last maybe commission meeting, but that's going to be a big asset to not only the utility but the city as a whole. We met with Ruben Tuesday of this week, had a productive meeting with him, laying out our EOP, so he is up to speed. He will get a copy of it. It's about that thick, though. But just having that coordinating effort, he knows our needs, we know his needs, and we're all working together. So having that single point of contact in those emergency situations is going to be valuable to all of us. So let's talk about, oh yes, there it is. It only takes one. That was my second favorite takeaway, because it's true. So we're going to talk about the process. Always comes up every year. How do we restore power? Where do we start? Where do we finish? Somebody has to be last, and it's a difficult discussion sometimes, but I think we're at the point where everybody should be familiar with where we start, where we finish. I'm happy to report that Catherine and her team are going to be putting these messages out early and often. I'm going to show you one today, and then I'm incorporated a QR code where I invite you all to take your phones out and look at the additional videos that are in there, but I don't want to ruin the one we're about to show you. But this is going to give you a quick little overview, nice little 1 minute, really engaging messages we can put out early and often. And there's 3 total. I'm going to show you one today. So.
When widespread power outages occur, don't worry. We're here to restore power quickly and safely. Here's our process. Once the storm passes and conditions are safe for our workers, we send them out to assess the damage and create a restoration plan. Then we repair damage to facilities such as power plants, power lines, and substations. Once those are operating, we restore power to public safety customers. These include police stations, fire departments, 911 centers, hospitals, water and wastewater facilities, and emergency shelters. After that, we begin repairing damage that will restore power to the greatest number of people in the least amount of time. Finally, we restore small groups and individual customers. If there is damage to your home's electrical components, like the weatherhead, meter can, or riser, you may need to have it repaired by a qualified electrician before we can restore your power. Please know that we won't stop working until everyone has their power back on.
Excellent.
Wow.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Quick, concise, clean. Like I said, I invite you to watch the other 2 videos we're going to associate with why. I think one of them is why is my power or my neighbor's power is on and mine's not. So there's some great explanation there. They're quick and easy, and we can hit those throughout the storm season and then absolutely while we're ramping up and during those times. So kudos to Catherine and her team. They have their hands full during those times. You all do. We all communicate constantly on a daily basis during power outages, but so much more during the storms. So just know that you've got a seasoned team here. We're willing to listen. We're willing to help. We have to stick to our plan. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out for everybody, but sometimes we're on the losing end of that as well. So with that, I'm open up to whatever questions we have.
Excellent presentation, and I'll kick off the first question.
Sure.
And we appreciate all this hardening, and that is evidenced by the 6 days alone.
Right.
And the limitations that could have been and would have occurred earlier. And we've talked about this once before, but when your crews get to a place where someone doesn't want to allow access on their property, what are our alternatives in that to encourage?
So you have two different scenarios there. That normally doesn't happen during a hurricane. We have ways of persuading. Usually the neighbors will absolutely interject if there's one if there's one difficult person. But they're usually so happy to see us by the time we get there. We don't really run into a whole lot of that. Now, that is also why we have started with the LPD and their dispatch with them. It'll help quell those. On the daily basis, our guys are craftsmen. They're salesmen and they're customer service agents and they're linemen and they're all that. So they have quite a lot of success. If the power's out and people need you there, they're going to get there. We just try to be as diplomatic as we can. We do run into that sometimes with the cut people and those types of situations, and I think that's a little more understandable situation. But when the power's out, we have a high success rate getting the power restored.
Okay, good.
But
Good.
we do have avenues. We can call in.
Other utility committee members, yes, committee member English.
Mr. Bush, is probably in your question, but I remember a few years ago, we were talking about the FEMA reimbursement was gonna take a long time.
Yes, sir.
From Hurricane Irma, not even Ian, Irma. And I'm wondering, that was several $1 million that we were looking at. Do you know, or can Gina tell us where we stand on if we've ever completed all of the FEMA reimbursements that we requested, or what percentage we got from Irma, because that was a huge number, because I know we've done a lot of hardening since then. Put up a lot of concrete poles and done some other stuff. But I knew that was a big number, and I don't know where we stood.
I'm absolutely going to let Gina.
I thought you would. I thought you'd defer.
Gina Jacoby, I'm Assistant General Manager for Fiscal Operations. Regarding Irma, it did indeed take us quite a while to get full recovery from Irma. I would say it was about 2.5 to 3 years later. We got about 80% back from the federal government, about $10 million out of the 12 that it cost us. We're anticipating in our financial forecasts that we're going to be recovery of Ian's going to be probably 2 to 3 years out again. So we're factoring that in our long-term projections. But that one's considerably less than, the damage was less than we incurred with Irma.
And I knew that Ian was less than Irma, but I had referred back to the 2 to 3 years. FEMA, you know, we're here to help you.
Yeah.
But when?
Well, a lot of it is, we got audited, you could call it audited twice, once by FEMA and then once by the state. And the state did a full audit of all our expenditures. So that's why it took so long to get recovery.
Thank you.
And we worked very, very hard to do all the GIS authenticating in terms of everything that's being done, the repairs that are being made, the timing that's there, and all those things that can provide accountability. But it's a lot of detail.
Yep.
Thank you. Commissioner, I'm sorry, McLeod, Commissioner McLeod. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Corey, for the update. It's great to see that our total restoration timeline, you know, that keeps dropping with every storm. Hopefully this year we won't have that scenario, but great to know that you and the team were prepared. My question is about I don't know if it's called the power outage map on the website, when people would log in after Ian. And I know sometimes it would just show like either it's spinning or in the queue, and there were residents who weren't able to really get a sense of you know, when their power would be restored. Have we improved that capability?
Yes. So that was my process notification. Storm Center is what we call that. The outage map. It's a package. But But yes, that's where the messaging and the ETRs, if you pull up an outage in your specific neighborhood, it's supposed to give you an ETR. That ETR was.
And an ETR, of course,
Is an estimated time of restoration.
Thank you.
Pardon me. That was not necessarily updating. So we have the capability to go in there and put whatever message we need to in there, update the ETRs, update the conditions, what status it's in, because it got stuck a lot in assessing or crew on site. Well, I don't see a crew on site. Well, that means a lot of different things. So we have that capability to customize that messaging and to also push that messaging out. One of the things we're doing as a utility is we're auto-enrolling anybody with a new utility bill into our messaging system. They're going to have to opt out of that, and that's by design. It's going to work perfectly for this because that gives us the capability to push those text messages out during situations just like this. So we look for those increased numbers, for the advantage there, but that system, it was incredible. We had given the customers more tools, more technology than we ever had, and the buzz that came out of that wasn't always positive, but overall it was, but the hiccups, yes, we've absolutely addressed all those, so.
Good to know. And for the record, I
Yes,
thought
sir.
the communications after Ian were excellent, and just the timeliness, the updates, and it was frequent and clear, but that was one question that I had, so I'm glad to hear that's continuing to improve.
We listen and we learn at every situation. Even the cold, the ramp up piece that really fizzled out there, the second one we had come, we even learned a little bit from that on a smaller event. You know, how can we still respond but at a lower level? So we're constantly learning. So.
And Commissioner McLeod, to your point, the importance of this when the public looks at that estimated time to restore is to recognize that that's an estimate and you run into things that aren't necessarily anticipated. And when that happens, I'm sure you will adjust those, but it isn't a pure science of you'll be on at 3:15, you know, and so having some regard in that, I think, is important. Other comments? Yes, Committee Member Troutman.
First of all, a comment of, or a star, I should say, a gold star. I did think the updates that you all were given during the storm was quite helpful for families out there wondering when their power is going to be restored. So thank you for including that in the process. But my question is, because I just looked at my tree line in the backyard where the power line is, how far are you all along with finishing that project of knocking down some trees throughout the different neighborhoods?
We have quite the army of tree resources on the system currently. Do you want to address that? Yeah. So, great question. Trees and tree trimming and tree services eliminate outages. So, Scott Bishop here, the new AGM of delivery.
We do a 3-year cycle. So every circuit, every line in 3 years should be touched again. We did get a little behind as a result of Ian. Trees LLC was scattered as a result of that. Right as the contract shifted over during Ian, they were still behind as of early this year. We got Davie Resources in as a supplemental, piggybacked on an Orlando contract, and have an absolute army of folks out there right now. If you go by the Technical Training Center over by McIntosh, it'll look like a small army's moved in. So we're trying to catch back up where we were. We are a little behind, but I've got multiple resources working on getting us caught back up before we get to storm season.
Commissioner Music.
Yeah, I think of the positive of the negative, and having storms show us where we're delayed, where we're slow, where the holes are, and things like that. So I'm excited to see that, because I think that just in life, when I see an area that we're deficient, it gives us an opportunity to do better, and I think that that's great. And having Ruben come on board, I just think that we're, you know, we don't want to storm, but we're to know that we're in a good position for it and are out ahead of it is it's just comforting as a citizen, but also as somebody who people reach out to and ask questions to, and to be able to have answers and to point them. So well done.
Other comments? Committee Member Dan.
This is for both of you guys. Relative to messaging and communication with a consumer, in my experience, quite often in a major storm event, people will approach line mechanics, the line personnel doing restoration, they ask them, okay, when's my power gonna come on? You know, the usual questions. And those guys have gotten kind of frustrated with that. Do you kind of give them some messaging help to, before it starts, to, hey, you know, you're gonna get asked questions by your neighbors, by the people out there, you know, here's how you can help yourself with that messaging. Do you do any of that?
So it's interesting, they got that last night, I guarantee it.
Okay.
When they're pulling up, and every lineman across the country is getting the same thing. So people love to talk to them.
Yep.
They're our favorites, right? There's an issue, and they're here to help us. They are updated daily on our process, where we are overall, big picture stuff. We, of course, break them down into quadrants, and then there's a pecking order to this whole restoration process. So there's communication down to what zone they're working. So they know about where we are in the process every day. And then they, of course, know if they know better than I do, actually. Hey, I'm 2 streets over. Do you know when you'll get there? Well, I'll be another 3 hours here, then we're going right there. So they love answering those questions. They're often greeted with gifts and water and thanks, and
They're local heroes.
local here, and they are, you know, they are. But you do have some sticks in the mud, like I mentioned before, but most of all, they are happy to answer those questions and work with it, because, you know, nobody likes being out of power multiple days, and they realize that, so.
Good.
Yep.
Our line folks were really thankful for the LPD crews that were assigned to them at the time. And what a great relationship that was, and a great opportunity to leverage our resources. Big kudos to those guys for what they did during that restoration effort. Very thankful.
Great, great.
Thanks.
Other comments or questions? Yes, Sal?
I have 2. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I got you.
So for the last one, I'm just thinking marketing perspective. You know, they'll see the trucks driving around town. Is it possible, I don't know if there's a code violation or not, but you have the messaging, you have the QR codes, but if I drive by a truck, obviously I won't know where they're going or what they're doing, but they could just point them to what you already have. So as your trucks are out and about, hey, you want status updates,
Good
go
idea.
here.
Yeah, we could slap some QR stickers or some magnets on there, right? Point them right towards it.
Yeah, that way it doesn't interrupt your.
Some linemen might want that.
That's a great point, because
Yeah. However, the best way we can get that message out, and that's a great one.
it's
Okay.
live that way.
Yeah.
And it would hopefully reduce the interruptions to your linemen of
Yeah.
what's going on. See the sign, go check it out.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have a.
What other ideas?
I know, keep going.
I do have a question, and I'm not sure if there's something already in place, but do we have a way to identify or prioritize high-risk residents? I'm sure, like retirement homes, sure, but maybe somebody's alone and elderly, and maybe they need their power on before others.
So we have a system in place for medical essential.
Okay.
And that is a service that you as a customer can sign up for. You fill out some paperwork. What that does is it gives us an alert ahead of a cut only. In a system event, like a hurricane, everybody's equal. Outside of the medical essential, the things we talked about there, if you know you need a breathing machine, if you know you need oxygen, if you know you need those things, those should be part of your hurricane preparation plan. You should have battery backups. You should have the oxygen. You should have, and we not only preach this, but every news broadcast you'll watch between now and the middle of June is going to say, get your hurricane preparations together. And then it's not just dog food and water. It's, I need this medication. I need this. I need that. So we do a fantastic job of identifying key circuits. Every one of our nursing homes and elderly facilities has an assigned person to them. Post-storm is checking with them 100% to make sure they're stable. But outside of that, there's no way we can track that, and there's no way we can prioritize. I'm not a doctor. You are, you know, medically essential based on what? And we can't make that determination, unfortunately. But that's where the biggest bang for our buck and the pockets are picked up and they'll be picked up as quick as we can, so.
Okay. Would it be possible, did you said you already recorded somehow? You know, as a customer, is there a way to record that, even though you may not be able to prioritize them, at least we know?
So, yeah, well, yes, the process is in place for medical essential, but like I said, that process is only if they're delinquent and we go to cut, we make notification, we don't just cut them. They know days, every customer we have knows days ahead that there's a storm coming. Every customer we have knows days ahead that they should be prepared. And it's the unfortunate reality, but, you know, we can't specifically go down and just target those. You know, it's just too much, so.
Well, go ahead, sir. Depending on the cost of the little YouTube movies and the development, a medical essential one might be a nice touch. You know, and because you could just send that message, we could send it early, and it tells people, you know, you need to think about and have, just like taking your prescriptions on a plane in your carry-on. It's the same kind of thing.
Exactly.
Certainly the county has, in the emergency operations team, identifies persons in the county who rely on consistent electric power in order to provide life-sustaining electricity. And in those circumstances, the county comes to us, and I presume all the other area hospitals, with a list of people and say, here are your assigned people, and the hospital takes those people in as non-admitted patients, and we board them because of the great power service and the backup that we have that you all provide. So that as you craft that message, there may be a link to, if I need this power, how do I enroll with the county to get on that list?
Another point I think it's important to make is we have several shelters across the county that are open, Kathleen High School being one of those. The Wednesday that Hurricane Ian was approaching, we have crews that are out up until, we have to make them go home because they want to restore everybody they can up until that's absolutely last minute, right? Pre-storm, before Ian even comes through. They're trying to get everybody, because they know once they go home, they could be out days because it may be a while before we get back to you. But we had the circuit that feeds Kathleen High School go out, and we had some squirrely weather at that time, but that team made sure that because it was a shelter, that was going to be their life source for their air condition and their hot showers while they were riding out the storm in that facility. So special attention was made towards that to get them back on before they went home and sheltered in place for the storm. So
that's terrific. Any other comments? Any other questions? All right, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
You are absolutely welcome. You've got all our information. Let us know if you need anything.
Any updates on our House bill? And
Well, that would be, I'm expecting that, but that will be, we have a person who can talk to you about that.
Cindy, you want to kind of bring us up to speed?
Hello, I'm Cindy Clemens. I'm the Manager of Legislative and Regulatory Affairs. Yeah, so I sent the email. I don't know if everyone was able to see the email I sent last night, but just to catch you up if you hadn't, we've had a really tough legislative session. It's not over, but yesterday a significant bill was passed on that in the House. It now goes to the Senate, and it does not harm us directly, but it does set a very dangerous precedent. It is a local bill. It is addressed towards GRU, Gainesville Regional Utilities. The bill basically is allowing the governor to appoint the GRU board. And there will be 5 members appointed by the governor. They are not beholden to the city commission at all. That is a new twist. We don't have that in the state of Florida. Typically it's local control, local oversight by our UC, which includes our city commission. So by doing this, the factor that led to this is fiscal issues with GRU that was elevated to the state level and the state took action upon. So although there are fiscal issues behind this, there's another stream of rhetoric that is very disconcerting, where they are saying that if you have people outside of your city limits that you serve, they do not have the right to speak up. They don't have the right to vote to see who's going to be on their commission. So it's basically taxation without representation because there is a surcharge placed on those individuals. So that is kind of another stream of rhetoric, like I said, that we're hearing in regards to the GRU issue, because the people who felt like they weren't heard were outside the city limits. So that is going to continue. We're probably going to see more bills filed next session, and that will impact us.
Good.
Yeah, we have 60% of our customers are outside the city limits.
Right.
So, and the way that they feel like they can reconcile this, the legislators, is basically take about a third of our pilot, our payment in lieu of taxes, away from the city. So we would lose about $11 million, from our dividend that we provide to the city. If the bill that is not moving forward, it still could latch on to another amendment, but for most everyone I'm talking to, we feel like it's gonna not move this session, but we could see it next session for sure.
I was surprised at the high vote of the House to approve it.
Yeah.
So it must be somewhat of an accelerated problem in GRU, correct?
It depends on who you ask. I think there's definitely an issue. I don't, to what extreme? I honestly haven't seen some of the numbers that have been claimed, but there's an issue, yes. I will not deny that.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Madden.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up, Mayor, because I was going to bring it up if someone did not. But I think that it's really important for us, as policymakers and as this utility committee to always be taking our SWOT analysis every legislative session, because similarly, we were hearing a certificate of need would be removed for years and years before it actually was, right, which would bring competition in the market for a hospital. Well, it might not matter if you don't have a publicly owned hospital who has to take care of all your indigent care. Oh, and that they give us a dividend that we pay for to use our parks and recreational facilities and have a capital maintenance plan, in perpetuity based on that dividend. So, like with the hospital, getting ahead of that and, negotiating with the hospital so we each had predictability, I think was a best case scenario and is fiscal responsibility on our part as a commission. I think that we would be remiss to not know that the applause might not have been as much just for GRU to get some fiscal responsibility, but if the applause came after they said, let's come after the other munis next with applause. Now that is often what we see is, if you have, a Republican, to me I'm in marketing, and when you look at different persuasions or trigger words that stimulate an effect, to get, what you want. I mean, using words like no taxation without representation, right, that's easy red meat. I mean, yes, right, no taxation without representation. And so you can get caught up, like she said, you used wisely, the rhetoric really is where the war is. And so if you don't listen to the words they're using carefully, you can just think, GRU, I mean, I saw it too. Their rates are higher than anyone else's. They need to have a pullback. But it's really unprecedented. 6 of 33 have differently appointed boards than the others, but this is the first time it's a governor appointing the board and taking action against a municipally owned. And it actually failed at a referendum to have any, so, and of course that is inside the city limits in a referendum. Similarly, when we had our referendum to change our charter to make it easier to sell Lakeland Electric, we had great opposition to that. And we can think for 100 and something years, we have precedent and referenda to show us that we really feel like it was a wise decision to take this into our own hands and to have a public utility and to operate it like a business. And, so the woman, not on this bill, but the other bill about the outside the city limits, using the taxation without representation, I feel like it's very important that we disclose, like, does she go to Florida Power and Light, her electric utility, and say what they can do with their dividends? I don't think so. Does it matter whether they're inside the city limits or outside the city limits on what they do with their dividends? So to say it's taxation without representation is really using words in a way that just triggers an emotional appeal so that everyone would vote against municipally owned electricity.
Unfairly.
And right, and it starts with those outside the city limits, but that is not what the IOUs would hope. I mean, it's kind of like when we wanted to add broadband as a utility. You know, the rhetoric, knowing that, you know, Republican rhetoric would be privatize everything, you know, shrink government and just give everything to the private companies and they'll do a better job fiscally. Knowing that that's a sentiment or knowing that's something that works, then we should be on guard to say, okay, let's be careful here that we do feel we have operated as a business and we've been fiscally responsible and we have lowest quartile rates in the state. And by the way, we have $31 million that we give to our city to buy, you know, fire trucks. And when you hear the representative from South Florida say, well, you shouldn't be paying for police and fire with that dividend, and you should just cut the pork in your budget. Well, I mean, I would say rather than taxing our property base, rather than, you know, making everything about, you know, a property tax, let's operate like a business on something you need anyway, a critical infrastructure like electricity, and let's make money and then invest back in our city to keep our property taxes some of the lowest in the states. And we have to remind ourselves, our property taxes are the same as Mulberry. And if you look at Mulberry and you look at Lakeland and you see the amenities and the parks and recreational facilities and the police and fire and all the things that most of our outside our city represented our ratepayers would even consider themselves Lakeland residents because they have a Lakeland zip code. Not all, but most. And then I would argue that they're using our parks and recreational facilities, and they're golfing at Cleveland Heights, and they're doing a lot of things that, going to RP Funding Center, the things that our tax dollars pay for, and that dividend invests in. So to me, this is hugely important. It's a huge risk. I think all of us need to work on our communication skills and make sure we're telling our story, because if you're not telling your story, you're on the platter. And it's easy for them to pick out a player like GRU because their rates have been high. But, you know, when you look at their bond ratings, when you look at how much debt they have, it's not much different than like Tampa and JEA and some other municipally owned electric utilities. So they might have high rates and they should work on that. And they should have a public outcry. And they, you know, like anyone would, we're locally controlled. But if they use a broad brush at the state level and use bad actors, you know, to say that all municipal electric utilities, you know, are wrong, you know, you don't get anything unless you start iteratively, right? And you start at GRU, then next year you start it outside the city limits, and then all of a sudden you're reducing your dividend $11 million and raising your taxes, and then you waited too late. Like, to me, let's get to the front, the tip of the spear, and to start to tell our story and say, we love that we, 120 years ago, took this into our own hands, and we have done it in a great fiscally, you know, responsible way, and that is why we have the lowest taxes in the state and one of the most beautiful cities in the states because of Lakeland Electric.
Yes, Committee Member English.
Commissioner Madden, I want to continue on your vein. I own 2 pieces of property, income property, inside the city limits of Lakeland. Our family owns 10 pieces of property, total, 11 really, with our home. I've never lived in the city limits of Lakeland. Been here 70 years. Never lived in the city limits. But I appreciate the city and what it does. Okay? I feel I represent those people that don't live in the city limits from this committee with the utility. And I'm honored not to be able to run for the commission because I don't live in the city. But I'm honored to be on this committee to represent those people, that 60%. So I've been on this committee for a while, and I was on this committee in the 90s when there was only 2 outside the city limit members with the commission. And I can go individually, I don't want to go into that collectively, but individually with y'all about how that came about. But again, to take an axe to grind by a couple of representatives that live in an area where they have constituents who've been disenfranchised, to apply that across the whole state is disingenuous on a representative or a senator. Home rule has always been the way. They clamor in Tallahassee all the time, well, the government, the state doesn't have any say-so because the federal government's, they're doing identically the same thing with home rule. They're taking it away from the local. Of all the utilities, the 50-odd utilities, we're talking about cities like Bartow, Wauchula, Fort Meade. They're all municipal electrics. They don't generate electricity like we do, but they're a municipal electric. They would be in the same boat as GRU because they operate as a municipal electric if this exacerbates to another level. And that's what I always fear, is the camel gets its nose under the tent, okay? And then it's inside, and then you got camel dookie inside the tent.
And Dookie's not good. In addition, you have the fallacy of the private utilities aren't giving back their profits.
Zero.
And so you've taken away if there's taxation without representation, maybe they just shouldn't have any profits either.
Right, yeah.
So, you know.
How are they going to have the reserve for a storm?
Correct.
Or how are they going to have a reserve for a new plant that they need to put in? Or how are they going, you have to have reserves. And what GRU, listening to the committee members that were putting it up, they were illustrating as if GRU was going broke by giving money to the city. They had reserves. They have reserves. They may have higher rates than other municipals, but they still have reserves, and they're going to build those reserves back from their operations if they're not constrained. If they're constrained, they'll never get those reserves built back, and GRU may not be a viable entity in the municipal electric business any longer. I don't know.
And this also underscores why rate discussions are so important for us and why we are so grateful for the work that's done in the background to keep it appropriate, and a reserve cap is appropriate, and all the things that we carefully work meticulously to do in order to avoid a problem like this, while we still return a dividend that almost is equivalent to all the millage that is collected.
Right, exactly.
Yes, Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Cindy. I'm curious, what do you think needs to be done between now and next legislative session if we expect this to come back, if we think it will build, and maybe have far-reaching ramifications that would touch us?
So I know our local delegation wants to help, and I think one of the first things we should do after session is to meet with them immediately and start having dialogue with them about what this really looks like and what this impact really will mean for us. I also think, and this is, I may get pushback on this from different entities, but my opinion is to bring those legislators who have these opinions here, show them what we do, show them our generation, show them our operation, and even though they're not on our delegation, bring them. You know, I would love to have the bill sponsor, she's in South Florida, Miami area. I'd love her to come up and see what we're doing here and show it. Not sure how you know, others will feel about that, but that's kind of my thing is, you think we're not being well run? Well, come visit us and we'll show you we are. So I think there is some key messaging that needs to be done. A lot about what Commissioner Madden just said, a lot of that we need to take because right now all the arguments is kind of coming off of the GRU circumstances and situations. So we need to kind of move away from that and align it with, okay, you say, you know, there's taxation without representation. Let's talk about it in the context of Lakeland Electric and tell that story and kind of move it away from the GRU story.
Yeah, I like that. This is a tough one. I think this is one that will take a lot of efforts and strategy to really try and be in as strong of a position as possible for the next legislative session. And even then, I think it will be difficult. So that's the reality, and there's some good messaging here, but we can sit here and say these things. But as we all know, it's different when it's in that state legislative environment, and there are many voices. And so I'm just thinking between now and next year, whatever we can do, and however you can engage and utilize us, we are here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's why a tour is a great idea. Yes,
And to
Commissioner
meet
Mayor.
with our commission and our UC members. I think that's important as well.
Well, and one of the things I forgot to say in my initial comments is like, you know, if you're thinking about fiscal responsibility, it's on both sides, right? So when we do have a situation like we had, you know, with the Unit 5, you know, that's why it's so important for us to have more information rather than less. I mean, we live in the sunshine, we're going to get that information. But to me, my last question at the agenda study was not about $21 million and what a sticker shock, but how does 21 million fit contextually in how we generate electricity? And when you put it into a 350 megawatt power horse that we want to keep, you know, providing energy for the next decade or more after decommissioning our coal plant, then it makes sense. Like the numbers have context and it doesn't just sound crazy. And it's not that and we know it's not crazy because we know our team and we trust our team. We feel good about it because we're here all the time. But those things, when they get into the media or when they get spread, they're more, they feed that hope that, you know, IOUs will just take over and that we won't have publicly owned municipals. So then if you're under that persuasion or philosophical belief of everything being privatized, and that's kind of what you normally would lean towards, how can I help you say, I know that's how you'd normally lean, and maybe I might agree with you on a lot of that. But what I've seen here is that we live in a city, and come visit us. See how beautiful our lakes and our parks and how quality our police and fire is. It's because we were creative. Our taxpayers want us to be creative because we don't want to put the full burden on just property tax. We've had a hospital that we received, you know, money in to be able to invest in our parks. We have a public utility. We have a, you know, airport that's now profitable. We actually need another dedicated source for revenue for roads, because if everyone's moving to our beautiful city and our beautiful state, we're going to need more revenue. So the rhetoric works well to elect people, to cut taxes, and to keep government small. Okay, I would be a proponent of that. But what I'm saying is we've seen something beautiful that has worked here that's outside that normal narrative, that we have to tell how that's worked well and actually does keep property taxes low. Because if you haven't lived in a city like Lakeland, you don't understand that.
Agreed.
Good. Committee Member Hamilton.
Briefly, for your strategy, I would always encourage begin with the saints, work to the fence sitters, and then if you want to take on the sinners or those who have ideological opposition, that may be the hardest one, and stirring it up may help you or not.
Yeah, very true.
Yes, Committee Member Troutman.
Yes, see, I told you you were smarter than me. That's why I wanted to go first. I think it would also be helpful to explain the process on how Lakeland Electric even got outside the city limits.
Yeah.
Because what I told Jennifer when I sat in front of her 2 weeks ago was that how can they say there's taxation without representation when the people that was elected in Polk City and in the Board of County Commissioners were elected by the citizens, and they chose to engage with Lakeland Electric. Lakeland Electric didn't go out there and just start hooking up cords and power electricity and say, we're gonna take your money.
Yeah, there's a history piece there. Yeah, absolutely.
On the dais, and they have that. So I'm with you, it's disingenuous how they use that rhetoric, but I understand how they're using it. I understand the marketing behind it, but it's just disingenuous.
Absolutely.
Right. Sorry about that impromptu interruption. Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it very much.
Support stuff. I wanted to update you quickly on Unit 5 and on the Rice project. Next time, June 2nd, the next utility committee meeting, we're going to have an in-depth update on the Rice project. That's been asked for, and we're going to do that. It has been moving along. It's moving along well. It is experiencing schedule pressures and price pressure.
Hey, you know what we'd like you to do is back up because none of that was on the record. So just kick up again.
We're gonna give you a presentation at the next utility committee, and we also, as you know, we have a one-on-one schedule. Sean does with commissioners, and I had some one-on-one scheduled with committee members, but that kind of got out ahead of the wagon ahead of the horse there. So we're pushing those back, but I will be discussing with committee members as well some issues prior to the next utility committee meeting, so we can all be get on the same page with that. Unit 5 is in the shop in Charlotte, going well. Kevin Robinson is here if anybody has any technical questions about it, but that repair's going well. We still anticipate that rotor to finish up in May. I think it's the third weekish of May, May 18th, and then we will get it back on site, and there's about a 10-day reassembly process and a shipping process. So sometime in mid-June, we should have that unit back operational. Kevin attended some a workshop that involves other owners of this same type of unit, and a lot of discussion was had about I've been watching too much Outer Limits this week. I'm not. I think somebody's in control of my horizontal and my vertical, but we're gonna get that unit back online, and we're gonna do some things that should help to preclude what happened. We still don't know 100% exactly how that failure occurred, but we know some contributing factors that we're going to be able to do some things to eliminate going back. So in addition to having brand new components, we're going to have eliminated some of the contributing factors. So we fully expect to come back with a good solid unit when we come back online with that one. So we will be updating more. We'll update you again on Unit 5. That should be next utility committee meeting. It will be back on site and we'll be in reassembly. So we'll update you on 5. We'll update you on the Rice project. And that's, I believe, all I have, unless there's any questions about those.
All right, are there any questions on that at all? Yes, Commissioner Simmons.
Yes, sir.
During the period of time that the Unit 5 is out, the utility is actually buying power from another source, is that correct?
Yes.
What is the cost differential to run on our operations rather than purchasing the power?
Yeah, I don't have the number. We have gotten the number, unless Gina remembers it off the top of her head. I don't recall the number. It is more expensive to purchase power than it is to run Unit 5 and generate the power. It is expensive depending on, or less expensive depending on what time of year it is, how many other units are out of service, the demand. We have gotten pretty favorable purchase power agreements in place, and I can get you some numbers on that. I know we've provided those, but I don't recall right off the top of my head what they are.
Thank you.
Why don't we just do that by the utility committee meeting? Maybe.
Okay.
Other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Mona doesn't get to steer anything.
Mona, I know she.
I think a lot of